Welcome to the Joy First Foundation podcast. This is where we discuss what it's like to give a joyful moment, how you can give joyful moments. Tune in and listen as we discuss what it's like to be with Joy First Foundation and what you can do easily to bring random moments of joy to others. Hope you enjoy listening. Thank you. Welcome to the Joy First podcast. This is Kyle Edgell, and I'm super excited to be talking with you. So tell us about yourself, Kyle.
Yeah, I love how you pronounce my name. It sounded like Jesse, what they say,
Oops.
Jesse Penne.
Oops.
Gave it a very French little twist. Yeah, Edgell instead of Edgell, but that works.
Oops.
That works for
My
me.
bad.
I think I'm definitely gonna start saying it. My name is Kyle Edgell. I will try it out on my dad on his birthday and tell him I've changed my name.
Nice.
Yes, I am a caricature artist and a certified humor professional through the Association for Applied Therapeutic Humor. And I started out as a graphic designer and an illustrator and creative director and working in development for major corporations, and caricature a side hustle that happened accidentally that continued to grow into my full-time profession. I incorporated in 1997. And I have been sketching people humorously for 34 years now. The only reason
Wow.
I know how long it was because the first sketch I did was in 1990 in a bar, and people tipped me, which I found absurd because I was not a caricature artist. The drawings were not quality drawings by any means, and yet everybody seemed to enjoy them. So perhaps that for me was my first exposure to joy first moments. Looking back on it, of course, hindsight is 2020.
Of course.
So when I met you and I saw that you engaged with people much like I do in my caricature work, I that in itself was a joy first but moment for me but it felt really odd to be on the receiving end because often I'm on the giving end.
Do you have any idea how many people you've drawn?
I have been asked that question, and all I can tell you is on average, currently, I draw people between 2 and 4 minutes each. And I do sometimes 4 or 5 events a week, and each event is about 3 hours. I'm not a mathematician,
That's okay. I was just curious. I can
but
imagine
but
it's hard to
it's a
quantify. Like I face
it's a
painted.
ton.
Yeah, I face painted for the Cherry Festival. The only way that we got any numbers was because they were taking registration, so we could guess that I painted 500 people a day for 2 days.
Yes, yes. If you were
So
looking at an 8-hour day and you're churning them through and doing 30, 40 faces or even less, industry standard for caricature artists, and I'm sure I was drawing much slower in the beginning of my career. Industry standard is about 5 minutes per caricature,
mhm.
and speed competitions, you have to draw a caricature in 30 seconds or less. I have
Wow, wow,
been known
wow,
to pop one out
wow.
that quickly. I remember doing a Virginia Tech coach that was passing through, and he was planning on retiring, and he was simply walking by, and I nailed him.
Wow.
And it was, of course, he was easy to draw because when people already genuinely look like a cartoons, I'm instantly amused and can see it.
Yeah, of course. Oh my gosh, I can only imagine. So let's
Mm.
circle back to Joy first. So you started talking about your first impression upon hearing about Joy First and what was happening. Can you say more about your first impression
Yeah.
before we did anything?
Um, I'm not sure exactly I understand how you mean.
Okay.
Before you did anything,
Yeah, because I was
before
talking
we went
about it.
out and I
Yeah.
got to hang out with you,
Yeah.
just having the shop talk with you was really good. But finding out where you were coming from, a place of genuine authenticity, I must say, that it wasn't
Thanks. Yeah.
a performance. It was
Mm,
coming from a place of a desire to help people understand their worth and their value.
mm,
And that was intriguing to me because I then going around with you to just see you put it into practice, especially with people that were not local or who were from out of the
mm,
country, who
mhm,
didn't speak English.
mhm.
I I think most people are very timid about approaching somebody when they are fearful that they don't know how to communicate. But taking that risk is a
Let's tell the whole story. So I visited twice at your
yes,
place. And the first time you were an amazing tour guide and you took me up to the Star, and you're in
yes, that's
Roanoke. We didn't say that. You're in Roanoke, Virginia. So
yes.
you took me up to the Star. And was that the first time you saw me even do a joyful moment?
Yeah, I think so. I'm pretty sure,
Okay.
but that is what really stuck in my mind. Just one, the star, as you say, Roanoke boasts the largest man-made star in the world. It's 2 tons, was built in the 19 end of the 1940s, so huge, and has a live cam on it where people can wave. So a lot of people who visit Roanoke, Virginia, and the Blue Ridge Mountains just off the Parkway will come there, including a lot of international people.
Right.
And as they're playing with the camera and looking at the scenic overlook that is there, they will talk to each other. And so this group was speaking in another language, and to 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 see you go up and be able to greet them in their own language, one, that was astonishing. But
I
to
think,
see
yeah, they were speaking Arabic, I think, right?
yeah, and
Okay.
to see how they responded to you with excitement, and all of a sudden they felt included and welcomed,
Mm,
and as opposed to separated as if everybody else up there, including myself, was ignoring them because they're in their own little world. And yet I felt like after you had interacted with them and asked them questions about their language, and that's what another thing I really liked about you. You weren't necessarily telling them things or thinking. You immediately started asking questions, which I think made them feel validated and heard,
mm.
and and it probably added to your vocabulary or helped you with learning and keeping in your mind the simple how to say hello in another language,
Yep.
which should be a basic skill that most of us should learn.
I have a thing about wanting to connect with people regardless of where they're from. And sometimes I make mistakes because sometimes I try and make an assumption about what I think, where I think someone might be from. And these days it's touchy because some people don't want to talk about that, especially expats, people that have moved here from somewhere else.
Yes.
They're nervous about saying anything about that. So I cautiously approach and feel the situation in the moment and back away if that's not comfortable. But they were comfortable and they were willing, and we had a really nice exchange. Yeah, I just and wouldn't it be great if we just all had this database of how to say hello in every globe, every language in the globe? Wouldn't that be cool?
For me, it inspired in me the desire to refresh my Spanish a little more,
Nice.
as there are so many Latinos in the country. And you're right. I think by nature, we're all curious when we meet people. If you meet, as I did, somebody that was missing their arm,
Mm.
how'd you lose your arm? And yet, is it an appropriate thing to ask that question? I have made the mistake before of asking if someone were from India and they were from Pakistan and not happy that I identified them as being from India when they were from Pakistan.
I
And
did
or
that when I was
if
clowning. I did that by
and
accident.
especially
It's a total
yeah,
accident.
by
They're
by
all
accident. But I do think that seeing how you when they saw there was no malice behind there and or no agenda,
hmm
that there truly wasn't any, and I think that's a big thing to overcome when people are accosted online and in other places where some people who do come up to them, it's because they want to sell you something. Like when I
That's
went to
right.
Africa and I was in the bazaar, anybody who came up to me, I felt, okay, they're trying to sell me something.
Yep. hmm
And if they come from a culture that's like that, where they may assume that the next thing you're going to do is open up your trench coat and sell them watches.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I had that experience in Morocco too, where you're in the Medina or the market area, or you're in the shops area. And one thing I learned in Morocco too was that first sale in the morning set the tone of the day. If you, by
Wow.
the way, if you're traveling and you go somewhere and you want to go shopping, plan to spend money in the morning because you'll make someone's day.
That's a sweet thing to say.
Do you think there's been a ripple effect from the experience of having Joy First around near you, or even
Oh,
in that
absolutely. Absolutely.
conversation at the Star?
I know there has been with me. One of the ripple effects I can tell you right now is in my work, I have a little prompt sheet that I often give to the spectators. As a caricature artist, I like to involve the spectators, and my prompt sheet was in English. And it occurred to me that perhaps I should include a Spanish prompt sheet. And also being able to, if I knew I was going to an event, that I know I'm going to an event with someone that's from Peru, to take a few minutes to learn just even one or two facts about Peru, to be
Mm,
intentional about joyful encounters. So that for me and my business has been huge. But I can imagine personally for people who don't engage as an entertainer would still really benefit with members of their family or with friends or neighbors that move into the neighborhood to find out what's meaningful in their culture for welcoming people or
mm,
greeting people or saying hello. Again, we're fearful of making those mistakes.
mhm. Did you add something about give a compliment? Did you do something like that on your prompt sheet too?
Yeah, I did. It was a lot of times on my prompt sheet is to whisper, "You are amazing."
Oh, I love it.
And those affirmations that are there. And in a way, it hurt my feelings because rarely, never once so far in that prompt has anybody told me I was
Oh,
amazing.
oh,
But they
that's
they will
awesome.
but they will lean into the someone that they love, their mom, their dad, their brother, their sister, their spouse, and they will you can see them, their shoulders go back, they lean right up into the ear, and it's the only prompt that I don't have to say it with meaning because they automatically do. If I just tell them to say yay, they'll go yay. But when it's directed towards somebody else and it is a compliment, I find that there's more inflection in their voice.
Interesting. Yeah,
And I
yeah.
find that's what you do when you do encounter people. It's body language, leaning into somebody and without, again, being invasive, because I think that's a skill.
hmm
But is that a skill that anybody can develop, or is it a skill they can improve on? And what if you're an introvert?
So that's really good that you've brought that up because I'm in the process of writing a course for Joy First Ambassador trainers. And so I was going to ask you if you consider the idea of Joy First ambassadors. all over the place. And we have these trainers that teach people how, introverted or not, how to approach and how to do this so that we can expand the space that we're going to affect. And if there was something from your experience that you would tell a Joy First ambassador trainer, what would that be?
I love questions that make me pause because as you were speaking, of course, the word ambassador, the city of Roanoke and many small cities, perhaps, I only know what's happening in my city. They've, a couple years ago, just 2 years ago, they've created a volunteer organization called Ambassadors for Roanoke. These people will go around in the main market area, which is our primary tourist area, and they are the face of the city. They go around and they will pick up trash. They will answer questions from people that seem to look a little bit lost. And among other things, I really need to do that. And I think the skills that you're talking about are desperately needed for people who are taking on or being willing to volunteer in those types of situations where if they are going to be the face of my city, they are representing me and how I would engage.
Yeah.
Um,
And I'm in this situation
in
right
fact, I need to
now.
bring you up. I need to introduce this concept to our ambassadors
Yeah.
because I think just the name of Joy First, I think that's the key. If you were training somebody, that one, if you're having fun, there's a greater chance that they are going to have fun. So showing somebody how to give joy and receive joy is part of that.
The reciprocity is huge. When you
Yes.
are able to get in there with somebody and give a compliment and open your heart and they respond with gratitude, it's an instant reciprocity.
Well, Brene Brown, her word would be vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
And it is vulnerability because
It
like
is.
you said, you won't learn when to pull back from somebody who perhaps isn't open to it or for whatever reason they don't have
Can't
enough
can't take it in.
emotional space,
Yeah.
can't take it in to be aware to pause or to have an opening to where
Mm-hmm.
you test the waters. And I think that you can teach somebody a technique to use in the first minute that
Yes.
might be universal, like a Joy First 101 to test the waters so
Yes.
they don't repeat the same mistakes that maybe you've made over the years and
Oh,
learned from.
sure. Well, and in 3 years, three people have said, no, I don't want this and done that. And I go, okay. I
Mhm.
back off and go to the next person who's receptive. But when you think about it, in thousands of these moments, that three have downright just said no, that's a pretty good percentage.
Mhm.
One of the questions is, so it sounds like the answer is yes, but on a scale from 1 to 10, would you recommend Joy First?
Oh,
And
yes.
10 being the best, what would be the number?
I would say I never give people tens. Let me say that because I love to allow room to grow.
Sure.
Yeah, if you're already at a 10, I feel like it's not motivating. And Andrew Tarvin said he never really learned from any positive feedback. The greatest lessons we can learn is from the negative encounters and the negative feedback we get if we are willing to be humble enough to accept the critique and see if it has some validity to
So
it.
what's your critique?
The critique would be, I'd be curious. Many times people are so polite with me when I know I have absolutely made their child look like Chucky instead of a cute little baby to politely lie or perform for me, mirror positivity back to me so as not to hurt my feelings. And I don't think that served me well. So I think I would be really curious to get a focus group full of people who don't like to be approached spontaneously. And I say focus group.
Oh, yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah.
Yeah. And find out what resistance they have
Yes.
to this kind of an encounter and what advice they would give that would make it a joy first moment for them and their style. And
This big
whether
sting
it be people
story.
that are on the spectrum or perhaps somebody that has PTSD, a group of veterans who want to keep to themselves, or a group of grieving people that need to be brought out of their shell. Those might be opportunities for Joy First to go in and get nuggets of wisdom
Of
on
course.
how to
We've been
approach
to
that.
a domestic violence shelter and did a full 1 hour clown visit for the families. And the story that relates to what you're talking about is when so I arrived at your house, parked the van, and then got on a train and went to New York. And
Wow.
so
Yeah.
when I went to New York, it was really interesting because it was part of another event and people were receptive. And then I put them in the compliment car wash, which is 2 lanes, like a dance line that you go through. But instead of dancing, you get compliments from everybody. And people stood at the front of that and said, I can't go through.
Wow.
And that was shocking to me. I didn't
Yes.
know people have resistance to getting compliments.
Mm. Mhm.
Whoa. So, right there is an opportunity to stop, drop, and listen and say, wow, what is that? Is
Yeah.
it that we don't know what to do with that energy? Is it that because ultimately the best thing to do is create more reciprocity? We take it in, we give it to someone else, and we say, keep that chain going with compliments. We're on a schedule. We processed through it and we did the compliment circle. And in the end, people were crying because it was such a
Mhm.
beautiful experience. And so the beginning of it and the end of it were polar opposites, which
Wow.
was really interesting.
Yeah. And I would find it hard. I've always been accused of not accepting compliments, of not just saying thank you,
Right.
or disparaging myself, like beating people to the punch of being critical to
Oh, what do you
myself.
think that's about?
Oh
Oh,
man, you're so
beating
tall
people
and
to the
beautiful.
punch.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting
Yeah.
because that's not how you do your self-talk.
This is probably true. Mhm.
Wow. That's that's something Joy First can also help people with too, is self-talk. Is because every morning I wake up and I do affirmations and meditations on gratitude. So I purpose start my day with gratitude. So I do the work that takes the stagnant energy out from the night before and get that heart open so the rest of my day can follow that lead. So things that are heart opening, things that teach us that we can thank ourselves for being alive today. Have you ever done that?
Once or twice since meeting you, I have done that a couple times. What's your favorite? I have worth just for simply being me. I
Yeah.
have value, no matter what skills I feel like. Here's my negative self-talk revealing itself. No matter what skills I'm losing in my daughterage old age, no matter what I can't remember anymore, that doesn't matter. I still have value, not only to myself, I still
Oh,
have
yeah.
value for others. And perhaps I need to pivot and discover what, to not focus on what I can't do anymore. But I guess that's what an encounter of joy does. It's being aware of what you have and can still offer to others,
Yeah. And,
where
and Kyle, you look
especially
like you're
retiring.
25 years old. Can we
Pardon?
talk? You look like you're 25 years old. So, and you're talking about losing things as you age. Can we talk about,
Can you
we
talk
don't
about
have to,
my age? Yeah, I am so amused by my age because I I did a figure drawing class last night, and I started caricatures when I was 33, and I thought I was a failed artist. So I really hadn't been in an art class since college. And there's a model, and I was just dropping off some pastels of my husband's. I had no intention of staying, but I did because they gave me a canvas and I had his pastels there, and I hadn't touched any kind of another medium other than my Crayola marker since college, which was 50, almost 40 years ago, 45 years ago. So I was instantly transported back to being 21 in drawing class. And I was stunned at how insecure I felt at making the attempt. And again, feeling like an imposter as an
Right.
artist.
Yeah.
And that's my negative self-talk doing. I thought, why just enjoy this? You've got years of drawing experience. Just
Heard
enjoy
about
this new
limiting,
medium.
have you heard
So
about limiting beliefs?
no, I haven't.
So the theory from Dr. Joe Dispenza is that limiting beliefs were created between 0 and 7 years old. And they're beliefs that run in the background of our self-talk, of our belief system, what we can do, and all this stuff. So, and the only way, because we were in a hypnotic state between 0 and 7, our brain waves, we don't really wake up till we're 7. So that 0 to 7 is the sponge time. And
Mm.
so in the sponge time, you're in a meditative state. You're in theta. I think it's theta. I might have that wrong. But in that state, you have to get to that state again to understand. First, you name your limiting beliefs. You think about where they are, you name them, and then you can reframe them using improv to turn them around, right? But you can also do meditation and use affirmations and things like that to also reframe in the same brain state that you learn them in. And
Wow.
they're deep, and it's very interesting to do the work for that. It's kind of fascinating.
There's things now that I understand about myself that now I'm finally ready to graduate
Because you're
college and decide
35.
what I want to be when I grow up.
Because you're 35.
Well, I have to look at Colonel Sanders. And what's interesting, there's a fella, Buddy Guy, I think that's his
Yeah.
first, is coming to the Berglund Center and giving a concert. And he's turning 98 this
Oh
year.
my.
And the Berglund is a huge, it's not a little tiny event space. It holds a, a lot of people. And so there's this desire I have to just seeing him still doing his thing. I thought, okay, at my age, I still have another 25, 30 years to, you've got to assume that. Just
Of
assume
course.
that you
Yeah.
potentially can live to 120. And if you
Sure.
keep curious and you keep engaging with other people socially, it's already, science has said, we need each other. We need to engage socially. Uh,
Yes.
Otherwise, we do lose our ability to want to engage.
Yeah.
And let's either, we need to stop looking back with regret. We need to me, what I liked about that was, oh, good, somebody still above me
Right.
succeeding. But I'm losing friends now at my age and the people that I have engaged. So to be intentional about developing those friendships, and it's going to be harder because we tend to stay within our own peer group, but to be intentional about developing relationships and activities and meaningful encounters with people that are younger than us and
Mm-hmm.
be relevant to them requires that we be curious about them. We
Yes,
can
that's right.
bring to them our music.
Yeah.
Perhaps we can, but how can we be relevant to someone younger and have it be reciprocity? That's the word. That's having
Yes. We need
meaningful,
reciprocity with
so
everyone,
that
including young
what
to
I am
older.
doing can be interesting for them.
Let's go from So that scale to 1 to 10, did Joy first get a 9?
Yeah, you got a 9.
Just checking. And do you think everyone needs a moment of joy?
Of course. Of course.
Yeah,
Timing.
we all need to be
Timing of that
recognized.
moment, and a moment of joy may simply be sitting quietly with someone.
Yes, that's right. Oh, yeah, because starting with giving standing ovations to grocery workers has turned into taking care of the dishes and cleaning a house when somebody needed it, or just being with somebody when they needed it. It's shifted around to whatever in the moment where me or hopefully anybody else in Joy First would be in the right place at the right time to help.
Yeah.
And
I think you need to definitely keep doing what you're doing and formulating it and uh, finding out what it is about how you do things that is teachable. Often,
yeah,
do you ever get, oh, that's your personality, so it's easy for you?
yes. But Patch Adams took a bunch of vets who were suicidal, couldn't handle people, couldn't talk. These vets were in such shape, such bad shape. He took them and turned their lives around with clowning. I think if we can help them through any of these activities, whether it be laughter and improv or simply gratitude and compliments, gratitude's showing to help with suicide prevention, just teaching people how to be grateful. And one of the things that is important too is being in the moment, is the right now. Generally, if we stop and take 20 seconds to savor the right now, you lock it into your memory. And those are things that you can go back to when you're working on your gratitude and visualize where you were standing when you had this urge to suddenly savor the moment you were in. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And so Kyle, just because your business is so important and your work is so important, how do people find you on the internet if they need a caricature artist for anything all around the world?
If they need a live performance artist that
Yeah, say more
purposes.
about your process. And
Yeah.
you and I are both in AATH, in the Association of Applied and Therapeutic Humor, and you are a certified humor professional. I'm on my way.
Yeah.
And yeah, go ahead.
You're the Chin group that's part of
Oh, yeah.
AATH has been life-changing, as each of the people that meet with us on Zoom, they bring their own specialty to it. You with your Joy
Mm-hmm.
First, Jim Bob with improvisation, and the Amy with her music therapy, and Mary Jo with her art therapy, which is very different from my entertainment.
Yeah, and
Um,
Kathy and her laughter yoga.
yeah, Kathy. Oh, definitely Kathy with her laughter yoga. I am a laughter yoga leader also, but Kathy is like my mentor because she's actively doing that, and I don't do it as much, yet I do engage with elder care. And so you can find me at Kyle Caricatures. My process
Is that
now,
.com?
yeah,
Is that
Kyle
the
Edgell,
website?
KyleEdgell.com is the
Okay.
website. And Edgell is Edge with 2 L's.
Yeah, I'll have
And
it in the notes. And
yeah.
your process, you want to talk briefly about your
Yeah, my
process?
process is most caricature artists will sit, and the artist is an artist, and his subjects become models. And traditionally in art, models don't move. They stay
Mm-hmm.
very still for the artist. I flip that, talk about reciprocity. I allow my subjects and invite, not only allow, I ask them to move. And I'm very aware, because of the improvisation that Jim Bob has done with the Chin group and stuff. There's a game where you call Take That Back. And I've changed that game around and given people a script to read to my subject, which has laughter yoga elements in it, improv elements in it, where you're asking people to be a tree or perform bark like a dog or wiggle or jiggle or jump up and down and be excited or whisper, "You are amazing." And
So you're
the
active, you're
yeah,
drawing, and your
yes,
people are active, and they're interacting with the other people that are behind you or behind them.
And I pass out occasionally we'll pass out a small applause sign that's made with paint sticks and a piece of paper.
Love
And
it.
I ask them to holler to the entire room, whether they're waiting in line, ask them to ask, this came from you, ask people for a standing ovation. And
Nice.
the teaching moment is sometimes you have to ask for help.
Yes,
And
yes,
yes, and don't be afraid, because people want to help. And
yes.
sometimes you are the helper. And the fact that goes back and forth so quickly, as I draw somebody in 3 minutes, the roles are constantly being switched over. So,
Kyle, thank you. So we're out of time, and I just want to say
yes.
thank you so much for being with
Oh
me
my
today.
gosh.
How's that for
Jim Bob,
timing,
that
huh?
was, thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Joy First Foundation podcast. My name is Kate McGlynn, aka Katie B, and I am on the tour of joy. So excited to continue the tour, continue meeting with people. Keep your eyes out for the next episode. There will be more and more joy. Have a great day. Have a joyful day. And don't forget to spread kindness everywhere you go.